think we're good. I hope. I have no idea. Just tell me if it's working or not. Okay. Just gonna tweet out a link real quick. Alright, cool. Sorry about that. Hi guys. How's it going? Whether you're watching now or watching later, there's no real reason for this stream, so to speak. It's quite literally just that, also, how does the audio sound actually? That's another thing. It should be good though. I've double checked. No, actually, no, it's on the wrong one, of course. That should sound a bit better, I hope. Anyway, yeah, there's no real direct purpose for this live stream. It's just that I used to do them a fair bit more, but I haven't really done them in a long time, so I was like, fuck it, why not? And yeah, today I just want to have a chat about, I've got a list of topics here on my phone, so I want to have a talk about, you know, Booktube, Authortube, reading, writing, the whole lot, and I've got the chat up here in front of me, so say hi. Do you guys hate it when like people do the whole... Don't worry, I'll make sure I do that a lot in this video. Oh, also, one second, look what I found. Another thing, if you hear a lot of weird slurping sounds, it's not me, I promise. It's this idiot over here. Look. Yeah, you're on stream. Say hi. She's doesn't want to say hi. Anyway, what I found was the recently somewhat controversial Bob's and Vagine. I didn't think I had a copy of this one left. I thought it would be funny to start off the stream just by mentioning a few of my favorite poems? Is that what you call it? Bob's and Vagine, if you don't know, is it's a collection of thirsty Instagram like comments, and they're freaking wild, man. They are just disgusting. But it's obviously meant to be in the style of Rupert Kaur's Milk and Honey, complete with the drawings and everything. So I'm just going to read you just a couple, just to really start off this stream strong. I you know, break the water, break the ice. Oh, this is a fucking mess already. Okay. Nice tits, from Dave. Oh my gosh, I really want to drink your bath water. That one's by Official Brilliante. It's just fantastic. If I could use that ass as a pillow, I don't think I'd ever get up. By Louis 82 Till. Wait, where's my favorite one? I think it's like the first one I put in here, actually. This one, yeah. It says, I would kick my mama in the head while she sleep, just to eat that ass. Now we've got the goods out of the way. Let's move on. Right. I'll just tell you what the topics I've got listed down today for me to have a bit of a chat through are. So the first thing I want to talk about that a couple of people requested is my new video style. Basically, I don't know if you know, but recently I wouldn't say switched, because I'll still do it every now and then, but I went from doing the more typical vlog style of, like, you know, just me in a video like this, kind of talking about particular books or whatever, and I went to more of like a video essay style, where I'm still in the video for a little bit, but for the most part it's just footage from different shows or movies or different images with my voice over the top of it. A lot more editing. So yeah, I'll be talking about that. I'll also be talking about the difficulties of being a Booktube and an Authortube channel, because it's not something I've given a lot of thought about in the past, but seeing that as a topic for today's stream, I was like, okay. And there are a couple of thoughts I have on that I didn't really think about before. Oh, I'm just going to get the chat out here so I can actually say hi to some people. Also be talking about the books I've read in this year so far, which is like not a lot. I'll be talking about my writing updates, because I've got a fair bit. And I'll also be talking about, well, let's just save the last topic for the end, because it's a little bit of an announcement, but it's nothing that exciting, so I don't want to get your hopes up too much. Right. First thing is the new video style. So a couple of people have asked me like how long it takes to edit the new videos. Actually, before I get into that, I'm gonna say hi to some people in the chat. I feel like I've been ignoring you a bit. Hey Aphrodite, hey Toby, David, is it Faley? Am I saying that right? Angelia, nice to see you again. Isabella, Brody, Jesse, from Jesse the Reader. Who's that? No, hey Jesse, good to see you. And yeah. I'm glad you guys like the video style. Thanks for saying that, Angelia. And as far as spiders go, by the way, I'm sure there's plenty around. I used to live in an apartment, right? Like on a high-rise. That was around the time that whole, if you remember, that whole Huntsman story happened. And that was in a high-rise. That's on the 11th floor, and now I live in an actual house. So I thought spiders would be something I'd be dealing with all the time, which wouldn't be that much of an issue. But funnily enough, no. Although the bugs can be pretty bad, especially with the Australian heat recently. Anyway, off the topic of quite literally talking about the weather, talking about my new video style. So, yeah, like I said, it's more of a video essay. Actually, I'll see if I'll get an example up here for you, okay? Just so you can see what I'm talking about. 1 second. I'm not going to play like an actual whole video for you, don't worry. I'm just going to show you the look of it. Just bear with me just a second. Right, so my most recent video was the Villain Redemptions video. I just wanted to do a video basically talking about one of my favorite tropes, which is the villain's redemption. And yeah, so this is basically what it but yeah, that's a new video style. So what you might not know about going from standard videos to like video essay style is that it's a lot more time consuming, and that might be an odd thought to some other YouTubers, because to a lot of people the most time consuming part is like filming yourself like this in front of the camera. And so you would think that if you can just do your voiceover in your own time and then just edit footage in and edit images, that kind of stuff, it would be really quick. But that's really not the case. It's really not. I wish it was, but it's not. It's really, really, really time consuming. I think the most time consuming one I've ever done was the uh, book Twitter one. I did a video on like just not trashing book Twitter because I feel like everyone does that, but talking about the good stuff and obviously for the most part the issues I have with book Twitter and how I think it could improve in certain aspects. But that's like an 18-minute video, right? And there's a lot of like just things that people wouldn't think are time consuming but are, like when you have, for example, a quote from someone and you have to blur out some of it, that can take you like anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute sometimes to do it properly. And you're putting like maybe 10 of those in a space of like 2 minutes. You can imagine how it can drag out. And I think in the worst cases, I'm looking at like an hour of editing per minute of footage. So if I've got like a 12-minute video, sometimes that can take me 8 to 10 hours to film and edit. Yeah, just film and edit actually. I'm not even referring to the scripting part of it. Yeah, and Jesse's absolutely right. When it comes to the amount of time and effort that goes into it, and the copyright strikes as well, that's a big thing. But what I used to do is when I would plan my videos where I sit down in front of the camera and just talk to it like this, obviously with editing and stuff, but it wasn't very scripted. I would just have dot points and I would go through the dot points and just kind of ramble off. That's how I made it feel natural. But when you switch to a video essay kind of style, you can get away with it being more scripted because that's kind of the whole point. So now when I make videos, I almost to the word script the whole thing. Obviously I'll go off on tangents sometimes, but for the most part, most of it's scripted. Even a lot of the jokes, sorry to say, with the old format with the dot points, I had to come up with a lot of jokes on the fly, which is probably why they were so cringe sometimes. But yeah, now when I write the script, jokes will come to you as you go, kind of thing. But yeah, it's very time consuming, and the problem as well is that even when you're writing the script, it's not particularly easy to visualize where the video is actually going to go, which is a lot easier when you're sitting down in front and looking at the camera. You should start a channel, Angelia. I feel like you're one of the people in the community that everyone knows just from the comments. Kind of like Aphrodite, actually. You guys are very similar in that you're always well known in the community for being in everyone's comments and just sharing the love, which is fantastic. As far as pacing goes for these videos, it is pretty difficult. I'm just trying to think of how I actually manage that, but honestly I think it's just one of those things that comes down to intuition, I guess. You just kind of have to understand. The topic is actually the thing that makes the pacing. God, I'm really bad at talking today, sorry. Depending on the topic is how the pacing is going to go. And generally, with editing as well, it's kind of like a whole thing where you can make the pacing of the video feel a lot quicker than it is just by how you're editing it with like quicker cuts, that kind of thing. But as far as what I'm actually saying in the video in regards to pacing, I tend to space out the important parts. Obviously, it's kind of like actually writing a story, I guess. When you do a video essay style, and I feel I shouldn't really be giving advice on this. I've only been doing it for a little while, and I'm not an expert or anything, but I feel you have to start off with a pretty strong hook. That's what it is in writing books. So you have to start off with an interesting perspective on the topic that you're going to be talking about. That's why my video essays start with that weird kind of, I guess it's like a comedy bit at the start on the topic of whatever the video is going to be on. And then from there, you want to make sure you've made your point by about the middle of the video, because if you take a whole 10 to 20 minute video to make your point, or for people to know what the point is that you're trying to make, I should say, they're not going to stick around. They're not going to be interested in that. So you have to the audience has to know what point you're trying to make by the middle of the video, and obviously by the end, that's when you want to slam home the hardest points you have. I wish I'd planned this out a bit more, so I could actually give you a bit more of an idea of how I do video essays, because the whole reason I started doing, I've actually wanted to do it for a really long time, because video essays on YouTube is my favorite thing to watch. Here's a little bit of insight for you if you're interested. The things I like watching on YouTube the most, ironically, aren't even Booktube and Authortube. I like it, obviously, but it's not the first thing that I jump on to watch. The first thing I jump on to watch is the horror YouTube channels that do true horror stories that people have submitted, or they do mysteries from the internet, like real life things that have happened that people find creepy. Channels like Nexpo, what's the other one called? I can't remember, sorry, but I might come back to that later. But there's a bunch of really good YouTube channels that do like horror stuff. I watch them, and then I like watching video essays on just general random things, because the more random it is, traffic, the more random it is, the more interesting it can be if the person making the video is really good at what they do. For example, like Internet Historian. That's a great channel I would recommend. You probably know about already, but he does way more comedic takes on things, but his videos are still really fantastic. When it comes to video games, if you're into video games, video game essays are fantastic. Nakey Jakey is a YouTube channel. He does really great. He actually did one on horror in video games that I think translates fantastically to writing horror in books. Hang on, let me show you. You know what's funny about the dog? She used to be really fluffy, like one of the really long-haired kind of German Shepherds. And she got shaved a little while ago, and it doesn't look so much like it now, but when she first got shaved, she looked like Lupin in his werewolf form from Harry Potter. How great is that? Yeah, let me show you. Just 1 second. I'll show you some channels that I like in regards to video essays, because if video essays is something that interests you, you really do have to be watching good video essays, so you know how people do these things. And this guy is one of the best. He focuses primarily on video games, but yeah. He talks a lot about, writing descents into madness. I really went off on a bit of a tangent there, didn't I? I'm going to check the chat again, see how you guys are going. I would love to see more kind of like video essays on Booktube specifically. I think would be really good. Like Jesse, for example, Jesse the Reader, I think he would be really good at making video essays. He's always doing kind of experimental stuff with his channel, which is why I like it so much. And I feel like he's at least deviated towards doing video essays sometimes. And here's the thing: when it comes to like video essays on Booktube, it's not some. I'm definitely not saying I'm the first one to do it. I'm really not. But I haven't really seen it within the Booktube community before, and I know there's a lot of video essays on books and that type of stuff, but within the actual community, I haven't seen many people do it, and I would love to see more people do it, or on Authortube as well. Kind of goes both ways. I would love to see more people do it, because the thing is, as great as Booktube is, say hi to Bonnie, by the way. Come here. Bitch. As great as, Booktube is with its style of, sitting down in front of the camera, holding up a book and talking about it, that's what Booktube is. Sometimes I think it would also be great to see, like, a video where it's not so much worrying about, the aesthetic of the environment, that kind of stuff, but more so just removing yourself almost entirely from the equation and just focusing specifically on what you're saying. What I've noticed for me when I do that, where I'm less worried about how I look in the video or how the video looks, what I've noticed is I focus a shit ton more on what it is I'm saying, especially now that I'm scripting it. I find that I'm not rambling on as much. I'm saying the things I wanted to say from the start. Because with the old video style, when you dot point it, you know what you want to say in the video, but I'm sure other YouTubers will agree that very rarely happens. You always end up missing stuff you want to say. But yeah, do you guys have any more questions about the new kind of video style? I don't really know what else I can give you. As far as steps go for me doing it, if you want to, look into doing it, I find a topic, I open up a Word document, and I almost down to the letter script the thing. Basically, like I said, just making sure you start strong, maybe start funny if you can, and then, towards the middle of the video, make sure you've made your point clear, and then by the end, finish up with something strong to really drive your point home. Again, for example, my villain redemption video, I think, I can't really remember how I finished it now, but I think I finished up with a Snape thing. That's what I wanted to do, because the entire point of my villain redemptions video was that the great thing about villain redemptions is that it really relies on a character being not just good or evil. You can't do a villain redemption if they're just evil. There has to be shades of grey there, which I think is super important in all writing, and that's why villain redemptions are so good. And I finished up with Snape as an example, because I still firmly believe that Snape was a great villain redemption. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he was a bully, he bullied kids, he was a jerk, he was an asshole, that kind of stuff. And yeah, he was. He was flawed. He was still selfish, he was still spiteful, he was still a dickhead, even when he died. But the point is, he still sacrificed himself in the end, despite being selfish. If a selfless person that we know is selfless sacrifices himself, it's not much of a surprise, and it's still obviously like fantastic of them, but that's what they were programmed to do. For a selfish person to sacrifice themselves, or a spiteful person, I should say, when it comes to Snape, that's even more amazing, because they're going against their programming. Anyway, that's what I think. But yeah, my point is, finish up with a strong example of the point you're trying to make. And it's fine if you script most of your video, by the way, Aphrodite, even though you're not doing like video essays. That's completely fine. That's a lot more comfortable for people. I know, I would probably say the more comfortable you get, you'll probably end up steering away from that, because I go back, and the ones I've privated now, but I go back and I watch the first videos I ever uploaded, and they were almost entirely scripted, and you can kind of tell, like it just seems a bit rigid, but that might not be the same for you. I'm just saying, for me personally, if I'm on screen and I'm trying to make it look like I'm not reading from script, it comes off really obvious. Whereas with video essays, everyone knows I'm reading from a script, and it's not a big issue, because that's the point. yeah, it'd be really cool if that was kind of like the next stage of Booktube evolving, because again, like I said before, I don't want people to misread what I'm saying and end up, and people think I'm doing a whole, like, you know, the whole drama ages ago where it was like someone said something about people only worried about how they look on camera, that kind of thing, and not, they probably don't even read books. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, I think if the focus was more on what you're saying in the video rather than how it looks, which is a massive concern for a lot of YouTubers, including myself, more so back in the day, it's just a lot easier when you focus more on what you're saying rather than how it looks. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And it's just a lot easier when you remove yourself from the equation. Not saying I want to see the normal Booktube videos removed entirely, because one con I'll give you with video essays, and I promise I'll be done talking about video essays after this because I feel like I'm going on forever, but one thing I've noticed about video essays is that, jeez, voice crack. One thing I've noticed about video essays is that if you're not careful, your personality can get lost. That's why I include so many jokes, that kind of stuff in my videos now, because I don't want people to think that I don't have a personality anymore. And when you're reading from a script and just saying what you've written down rather than going off the cuff, your personality can get lost a lot. So it's important when you're writing the script as well to make sure that you inject a lot of your personality in there. I'm not going to only do video essays in future, by the way. I want to make that clear. I'm still going to be doing like Wattpad's Wildest, where I can't do Wattpad's Wildest as a video essay, really. It wouldn't. I'm picturing that, and it wouldn't translate very well. The next video I do actually will probably be a wrap-up for the books I've read recently, and that's, maybe it'll be a little bit of a video essay, but not so much. I'll be in that a lot more. Okay, you know what, we'll move on. That should do it in regards to video essays. Will I do animation? No, I am not talented enough for that, not even close. Do you think Authortubers should do book video essays? Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know what, actually, most of my video essays so far, I think, have been kind of more writing oriented, haven't they? Hang on, let me have a look. I barely even remember what videos I've made in the last month. Let's have a look at how many of these I've done. I really need to wrap up this whole video essay segment of the stream, but just one sec. I'll answer some questions first. Oh god, I hope this doesn't. Alright. So, I have made... I've got so many tabs open here. Booktube, doesn't really matter. Okay, alright, I promise I'm done with that. Let's move on. Right. What have I got next here? Booktube, Authortube crossover. What kind of fantastic segue was that? So Booktube and Authortube going half and half. I know it's kind of... How do I say this? When I started Booktube, like nearly 4 years ago now, I think, it was a lot more common for like Authortube channels to be Booktube channels as well, because Authortube wasn't a thing at that point. Like, there were videos making, writing videos like Jenna Mareshi, but there was no like Authortube. No one really called it that. I think someone tried to start a WriterTube, but that didn't really kick off as much. In fact, I made a video called Let's Talk About Authortube when, like, in the week that it became a thing, way back. And yeah, there was no Authortube, so a lot of the writers on YouTube were making book videos because they felt that's the only way they could get involved in the bookish community. So it was very common, and I've noticed it's not as common anymore, and I haven't really given it much thought before, but now I think about it, I think it is because I didn't think it would be like separating a niche because it's all books, but I guess it kind of is. I've noticed that my writing videos are definitely the most popular. That's where the majority of my subscribers come from. In fact, you guys in the chat, let me know, if you are subscribed, let me know how you found me or whatever. That would be really interesting to have a look at live. But when I look at the analytics for how subscribers come to my channel, it's for the most part from a writing video, and my most popular videos are Authortube videos. I'll show you, look. So I think when I make a more book related video, maybe the writing people aren't as interested, but also at the same time I feel like, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I feel like I would hope I make it entertaining enough that people would tune in anyway, because at the end of the day, if you're an author, chances are you're a book lover as well, so I don't see why you wouldn't be able to get value out of those videos as well. But when it goes the other way, obviously people who are just following my channel for books probably wouldn't be as interested in the writing videos. But the thing is, I don't really make nearly as many reading videos as a lot of other people on Booktube, because I don't read nearly as much as them. I just don't. As you'll soon find out when I tell you what I've read this year so far, it's not much. But yeah, because I'm not making, multiple videos a week about, book hauls, and God, I can't remember the last time I did a book haul. Book hauls and book reviews and that kind of stuff. I still do book reviews, but yeah, I don't think I'm attracting much of a Booktube crowd as much as I am an Authortube crowd, or maybe just a crowd that doesn't really fit into any of that specifically. Crap, your audio cuts off every time you change tabs. You know what? I know why that is. Damn it. Sorry guys. Bear with me a sec. Alright. God damn it. I have no idea how much you guys would have missed from what I said. Basically, what I said before was, when I was on the other tab, was pretty much the majority of my videos, my most popular uploads have been writing related. That's what I said. Don't worry, didn't miss much. Thanks for pointing that out for me, Connor. This just goes to show I really don't stream that much, do I? Yeah, anyway, the point I'm trying to make about Booktube, Authortube crossover is that I think I don't like saying this because 11,000 people have watched something from my channel and been interested enough or disliked me enough to hit the subscribe button, and that's pretty insane. That is truly insane to me. So I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful, right? But I feel like my subscriber growth, it really isn't as much as a lot of other people around my number, or even a lot less on Authortube solely, who aren't doing Booktube videos. And that's not a problem at all. I don't care whatsoever, but maybe that's just because they're making better content. Who knows? But I feel like what I've noticed from, the amount of views I get on certain videos and just from my years on YouTube in general, I feel like my subscriber growth is maybe diluted just a little bit because I'm spreading myself over a few different niches, I guess. That's all I was trying to say, basically. But it's not a problem. I think I don't even know how many subscribers I would be averaging. Like, I don't know. How do people measure it? Like a week or so? I don't know. I don't really care. Doesn't matter. I think 10,000 subscribers was the point I had in my mind when I started YouTube. There, I was like, oh man, that's gonna be how many subscribers I reach by the time I retire on YouTube, that kind of thing. So the fact, I got there is just crazy enough as it is. It's really hot, but I don't want to turn on the fan if it's gonna mess with the audio too much. Hang on, I'm gonna give it a try. Let me know if that fan is too loud or something, okay? But yeah, if you are a YouTuber and you're looking to do Booktube or Authortube, if you want to do both, like, as cheesy as it sounds, I would just say do what you want to do, honestly, because I'm having fun making the videos I am. Quite a long time ago, I decided I would stop making videos that I thought were just going to get a lot of views and just make videos on stuff I wanted to. And that's a lot of the reason I started doing video essays. I didn't expect the video essay style to work at all, and it's been pretty good so far. But when you worry a lot less about, how many views it's going to get, that kind of thing, you're going to have a lot more fun, and people are going to be able to tell. So if you want to do both, do both. Otherwise, if you are a writer and you don't have a lot of interest in talking about books, or there's a lot of authors who don't read a lot. You should be reading at least a bit, but there's a lot of authors who don't read a lot. Just make Authortube videos. Don't make reading videos. It doesn't matter, and that's probably going to work out better for you in regards to subscribers, that kind of thing. And obviously the same goes the other way. What's interesting with Booktube is that I feel like a lot of people started Booktube not knowing that they would end up wanting to be writers as well, and now you're seeing a lot more people on Booktube becoming authors. I think was Jesse the Reader. He was writing something at some point, wasn't he? He was. I'm pretty sure. And then obviously there's the enormous success of Polar Banana Books book. Whether you like it or not, it was immensely successful from what I understand. And obviously the larger Booktube channels are going to have an easier time getting a publishing deal, because that's how publishing works. It's a business, and you come with a platform, obviously they're going to be interested. It's silly to think that they wouldn't be, and it's silly to blame the creator for that. Yeah, a lot of people in Booktube are writing books now. I think Cindy is working on a book as well. That'll be interesting to see how that goes. So I anticipate that in the future, it is going to be a lot more meshed together, Booktube and Authortube. I wonder how Kat's book's going, by the way. I know she was writing a book ages ago. Either I've missed her videos, or YouTube's not showing them, or she hasn't uploaded an update in a while. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. I've noticed a lot of people can be a bit cynical when it comes to booktubers getting published, that kind of thing, and I understand it, but I don't agree with it. And that is that when someone has a big platform and they're doing something that you want to do and it looks like it's coming to them very easily, it's human nature to kind of get cynical and reject that idea and assume that it is only because of their platform. And you know, like for example with Polar Banana books, a lot of people were, before the book was even out, were saying almost as fact that her writing would be terrible because they were assuming the only reason. There you go, I said assuming for you, I know. I know Aphrodite likes that. Because they were assuming that she only got it because of her platform, and maybe the platform was a huge part of that. Probably was, but it's just silly to make assumptions. You know it. You guys obviously know, due to the recent controversies, how much I hate people making assumptions. I have no niche, lol, from Graphically Alex. That's fine. I'll be honest with you, having a niche on YouTube is very beneficial, but like I said, if that's not the type of videos you want to make, then just, yeah, do your thing. Booktube and Authortube should definitely not be like a career move. It just shouldn't be. I can tell you as a fact that even like the biggest people on Booktube, like, don't get me wrong, they're making a living, but like when you compare it to other YouTubers, like massive YouTubers, you're not going to be seeing a booktuber driving around in a fucking Lamborghini, is all I'm saying. Unless they come from money. Or unless they have an OnlyFans account. The creators shouldn't be getting the eye from the community. A lot of them worked really hard to get where they are. Yeah, that's like... Can I take a moment just to be like, can we just fucking chill, like, on the hate that, like, big... Not me, but, like, the bigger booktubers get just for existing? Like, yeah, they got a publishing deal, like, and you can guess that it's mostly because of the platform, because perhaps it is, but let's not forget how much, like, years and years, how many hours of effort went into building that platform. Like, I can guarantee you it was probably a lot more than the amount of hours put into even writing the book itself. So let's give them a fucking break, man. Jesus. People can be so, like, harsh. Anyway, let's move on. I don't know, unless you guys have any more questions specifically about Booktube and Authortube merging. I don't even know if I addressed the point that people wanted me to make on that. It's easy to do, I'll say. It's very easy to make videos on Booktube and Authortube because I just pretty much alternate. I'll make maybe 1 or 2 videos on Authortube topic and then 1 or 2 on a Booktube topic, and then I'll have some that just can go either way. How long has this stream been going? 40 minutes. Jeez. God, I like to ramble. Anyway, yeah. All I want to say, wrapping up the whole Booktube Authortube thing, is more specifically on the topic of booktubers writing books, and it's like, let's just not disqualify people from being able to follow their dreams because they have a large following. That's all I'm saying. If you don't like their writing, that's fine. Just don't read it. Like, or if you've already read it, give it a review, move on with your life, you know? Life's too short to... If I can be a guru for a moment, life is too short to waste negative emotions on these kind of things. Just let people be happy. Alright, current reads. Let's have a look. Most of my current reads have been on Audible. Here's the great thing about my actual job is it's an office job, right? So I sit at a desk for like 8 to 10 hours a day, and because I'm on the night shift, basically after most people go home, we get to have headphones in and that kind of stuff, so I can sit there and listen to an audiobook while I work. So sometimes I might get like 5 hours done of an audiobook before I get bored of it. But currently I'm reading Seven Blades in Black, or listening to Seven Blades in Black, but I didn't finish that quite in time for the book club, which I promised Pierre I would one day make it to. Pierre Ford lives in the same city as me, and I was meant to meet up with her at a book club, but work. Let's have a look. Lord of the Flies. I've actually got that book somewhere back there, but I read that one, and I'll obviously be talking about it in depth in my wrap-up video, but that was an interesting read. I mean, I knew the story of Lord of the Flies because everyone does. Everyone knows everything that The Simpsons has parodied, but it's a lot darker than I thought it would be. Really, really interesting, that one. If you don't know, Lord of the Flies is about a bunch of kind of preppy young kids get in a plane crash and end up on a deserted island in the middle of nowhere, and the story, I guess, is an allegory for human nature in its rawest form. It starts off kind of like a Disney movie where it's all the kids on an island without adults and they're having the time of their lives, and it very quickly descends to animalistic tribal mentality, and it's very, very interesting, but obviously quite dark. Humanology by Luke O'Neill, that was a non-fiction, and that was severely interesting. It's quite literally a guy taking you through just topics of life almost from start to finish, literally the creation of the universe to the death of the universe and everything in between, how attraction works, how evolution as we know it exists, how humor works on a chemical level, just quite literally everything. Humanology by Luke O'Neill, if that's interesting to you. Really, really good. As an audiobook, I'll listen to that one as an audiobook. Sounds like it would be really boring, but he makes it very interesting. I'm just going to quickly check in on the chat. Sorry if I miss your comments or questions, by the way, guys. I'm doing my best to keep up to date with all of them. Do you think there will ever be room in today's fantasy for self-involved prose like Gormenghast? I don't know what Gormenghast is, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm not specifically... Can you just give me an example, Brian? And I'd be happy to chat about that for you. I'm just not entirely sure what you mean there. That's all. That seems like something I'm a bit ignorant to. Catch you later, Aphrodite, when you have to leave. Always a pleasure seeing you. Alright, I also listened to The Toll by Sherry Priest. I want to listen to a few more horrors. This one, it feels a little bit generous calling this one horror, although it was very interesting, and there are a lot of horror elements and horror scenes. It's not like it's more of a mystery, is what I mean, The Toll. It's about a guy and his wife on a road trip, and they go to cross this mysterious bridge, and then he kind of blacks out and goes through a weird, acid trip almost. And when he wakes up, his wife's gone, and he's, I guess, stuck in this rinky-dinky little town, and everyone's acting very strange. As I'm explaining it, it sounds a lot like the Pine series by Blake Crouch, which is one of my favorite book series of all time. But it's not that. But it's pretty good. The Toll is pretty good, but I don't know if I would call it a horror. I think at most I would call it a mystery. I was really hoping for a like more brutal kind of horror read, to be honest with you. And then the next one, well, last one I read so far this year was Prince of Thorns, which was a fantasy book, which I understand is part of a series, which we'll continue on with. It was enjoyable, but if anyone else has read Prince of Thorns, do you feel like this book kind of feels like it didn't really feel like a full story? And I get that it's a series, obviously, but I don't know, it felt like the beginning to a book dragged out, like hella dragged out. And it's interesting because I am going to read the rest of the series because it's an interesting idea and I want to see where it goes. But for that one particular book, I feel like not a whole lot really happened, you know? But I don't know, maybe that's just me. I'm obviously going to talk about it more in depth in a wrap-up video, but it was interesting. The character was obviously pretty damn unlikable for the most part, which I thought was a fresh take. I really liked that. Although, can I just say, it's going to be one of my cons when I talk about the book, but it kind of has I've started calling it the Quoth syndrome, you know, Quoth from Name of the Wind, where he's just like the best at everything he does. And we've got this, in Prince of Thorns, we've got this kid who's like 16 and he can like beat anyone in a fight, and he's super, super intelligent when it comes to strategy, and he's just the best at fucking everything he does, and he comes out of every single situation on top. And it's just like, like, I don't know, man. Hopefully he gets brought down a peg or two in the following books. I feel like that's very important when it comes to fantasy. You need to see the hero utterly fail at some point. Hopefully at multiple points, I would think. Steve says, Gormagast, boy did I shop at the right time. Alright, okay. I'm going to feel really, really dumb if this is like something that all writers should know about, and I'm just out of the loop. But we're going to do some learning together today, guys. Let's have a look. I'm going to spell it wrong too, aren't I? Yeah, I did. Fuck it. Damn it. I already know I spelled it wrong. I don't know what this is. I've never even heard of this. I've heard of... Yeah, okay, alright. I've heard of Mervyn Peak. Let's do some book promotion in a live stream. The Gormagast novels by Mervyn Peak and Anthony Burgess and Quentin Crisp. That's a fucking cool name, Quentin Crisp. Right, a doomed lord, an emergent hero, and an array of bizarre creatures inhabits the magical world of the Gormagast novels, which, along with Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, reign as one of the undisputed fantasy classics of all time. At the center of it, how have I not heard of this? I like to think I'm pretty, like, plugged in to the fantasy, like, world, but obviously not. Jesus. Alright, I'm sorry. You'll have to forgive me for that one. Alright. Okay, you know what? That's officially going on the TBR, okay? Because it's bothering me now that I haven't... Damn it. Let me have a look at the chat. Let's have a look at the chat. Okay. Let me know, anyone watching the stream in the chat, if you have at any point self-published a book. I would just be interested to know, because the next topic I want to talk about is my work in progress, and I will be talking about some of the I don't know, it's still too early to call it plans per se, but the stuff I've been looking to in regards to what I'm going to do when it comes time to publish it, you know. Right, so, okay. Work in progress. Damn, coffee's going to be cold. My work in progress. Still working on the Descend 7 is the... By the way, it's Descend with a D. I'm going to point that out now because you probably know the stuff that happened recently anyway, but that was a very small part of that stuff that happened that bothered me. It's Descend 7. Descend 7 is the working title, so I guess that doesn't fucking matter anyway. But it's a psychological horror. Should I even explain what it is? Like, briefly? That didn't work out too well last time. Descend 7, working title, is a story about a guy who, as you were introduced to him, is not the type of person you would find yourself being friends with. Sorry, Isabella, I did notice your comment before about... I'm just going to deviate for a second. I did notice your comment before about Wattpad, but I forgot to go back to it. Yes, I will be going back to Wattpad to talk about it and to also do a bit more writing on there. I'll do some writing on there that isn't just comedic in nature. I know Wattpad gets a bad rap, so I'm thinking the next Wattpad's Wildest video will be on a good Wattpad story, because there are some good ones on there. I'm just going to be blunt. Most of it's not. Most of the stories I find on there they're bad, but I still think there is enormous value in that, because it is still encouraging writing in a younger audience, because most of it, from what I understand anyway, is a younger audience, and obviously it's going to be bad at the start. My writing was fucking horrible when I started. I think I made a video on the first book I ever wrote when I was a little kid. I did. It's called like the first book I ever wrote, or first story I ever wrote, or something like that, and it was terrible. The actor, Tobey Maguire, like Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, was in there as like a magical mentor for seemingly no reason whatsoever. Anyway, my point is, even though a lot of the stories on there are bad, Wattpad still has enormous value in cultivating a passion for writing in a younger audience. That's what I was trying to say. Back to me explaining. So yeah, I will be doing more Wattpad stuff. Back to the psychological horror. So it's a guy that you wouldn't expect that you would like in real life. He's a little bit of a douchebag, and he doesn't seem to be quite passionate about anything except his own selfish motivations. He seems very cynical and defeated and self-pitying. That doesn't sound like the kind of book you would want to read about someone, but bear with me. That's how the story starts. And he starts as a limousine driver. You don't really know anything about his past, and then this storm is blowing into the city that he lives in. A really severe storm. Everyone's getting their stuff together to ride it out, because chances are the stores are going to be closed, that kind of thing. And he ends up trapped in his apartment building, not specifically his apartment room, just his apartment building. And he quickly learns that the storm is not just a storm. Something very sinister and nefarious has come with it. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I stand by it. As far as inspirations go, I think it's a good mashup of... I hate saying good, it just sounds a bit, masturbatory. But I would hope it's a good mashup of 1408, the Stephen King short story, but my favorite form of that story is the movie with John Cusack. But 1408, in that it's very kind of abstract and claustrophobic, is a very big part of it. I want you to, while you're reading this, I have put a lot of effort in making it feel like you're very trapped, or he is very trapped. Where he is, there is no easy escape. He can't just walk out the front door, and I've made it feel like, I hope I've made it feel like the walls are kind of closing in on him, both literally in some points and not literally, figuratively. But yeah, and then it's a mashup of 1408 and also kind of Silent Hill more so in the creatures and the atmosphere of it. It's very isolated from reality. You know how Silent Hill is terrifying because it feels like you've been removed from reality and thrown into this like almost a parallel universe. That kind of mood, and also the like demonic kind of creatures that stalk him through the story. That's what it's about. As far as how it's going, that wasn't because of. As far as how it's going, it's actually been going really well. You might be interested to know. I'm not going to keep bringing it up, but due to that stuff that happened recently, I'm not going to talk about it, but due to the stuff that happened recently that a lot of you might know about, ironically, I thought it would like really stunt me from working on that book anymore, but I found that it gave me immense motivation because a lot of the things that were being said about the book I was working on, I knew weren't true, and I was like, well, I already know it's not true, but I may as well, keep writing it just to make a point. And it ended up becoming genuine motivation. I found that I've just been working on it so much now. So much so that I think at the moment I'm actually about 3 or 4 chapters from finishing the first draft. And the chapters are roughly around, depends on the pacing at that point in the story, but the chapters are roughly around the 5,000 words mark. So really not too far away. If I keep up the momentum I've had now, I could see myself finishing a first draft within the next 2 months, maybe. Might be a little optimistic, but it's entirely possible. Just going to quickly read some more comments. Thanks, Isabella. That's really sweet. If Wattpad... damn it, I lost it. If Wattpad authors could get into workshops and work with mentors, they could become great indie authors someday. Absolutely. Yeah, 100% agree. The thing is, a lot of the stories on Wattpad are really good ideas. Really, really good. They're just not executed very well, which is pretty much, in almost all cases, is due to just a lack of experience. So if those writers could get more experience, then they could really be onto something there, is what I'm saying. And I think Wattpad it's been proven to be a great platform for people promoting their work. You can build a real fan base on there. So yeah, sure. What negative comments and critiques can you do for Anna Grande is... What negative comments and critiques can do for you is help guide you and make you a better writer. You will never please everyone, but they can help you point out your flaws in your writing. Yeah, that's true. I don't want to make it seem like negative feedback in any capacity is a bad thing, because it's not. It's really not. As long as it's coming from... It doesn't even have to be from a place where they're trying to help you, because when you read a book and you provide a feedback for the book, or a review, sorry, I should say, and some of it's negative, maybe you aren't providing that feedback just to help them be a better writer, because maybe you don't really care, and that's fine. But I think it should, hopefully as an adult or someone who aspires to be an adult one day, it should at least be worded in a way that is not just abusive. You know what I mean? And a lot of negative feedback does exactly that. I've said it before and I'll say it again. A lot of people, when they write negative reviews, make it just needlessly mean and cruel just to be funny, and it's very rarely even funny. It's just the whole attitude of I'm not even gonna imitate it because I'll probably end up offending people. You know what I mean? It's just a little bit, yeah. God, I completely lost where I was even at. But yeah, my motivation went up. I'm nearly done writing the first draft, and you know what my biggest issue is with writing at the moment? And upon noticing this issue with this book, I've realized has been an issue for me for a little while, actually. it's the opposite of an issue that a lot of people have, which is writing too much and having to trim it down. I find myself constantly at a lack of word count. At the point in the story I'm at now, near the end, I think I'm at about 40,000 words. And from my calculations, by the end of writing the first draft, sorry, I spaced out for a second there. I thought the stream ended. By the end of writing the first draft, I'm probably only going to be between 50 to 60,000 words, which isn't enough. Yeah, but I'm really struggling. And the thing with psychological horror is it's very much about, introspective character development. So I know that a lot of the story has to focus on that, and the thing is, it does. But I'm still not hitting that word count. So then it comes down to, is there not enough action versus, I'm going to word this very, very badly, so please try and bear with me. Action versus, character development, let's say. Character development versus things happening. But the problem is, if I add a lot more of things happening, I'm going to have the same issue I had when I started writing it, which is it's just going to feel more like slasher horror, which I really don't want. I want it to be more psychological horror. It's about exploring the guy's past. That's basically the story. And I don't know, I want to stretch it out to at least 70,000 words. So what I'm hoping, or what my plan is currently, is to finish the first draft, go back through. There's a few chapters I already want to change, but I'm not going to do it until I finish the draft. Go back through and maybe try to expand on a lot of the dialogue. I feel like I could definitely stretch out some of the dialogue, because when I read it back, it goes a bit too quick. Stretch out some of the dialogue, and maybe I'm thinking adding a whole new part, but then at the same time I don't want to do that, because it's having 7 sections to the journey is very important for the theme. I don't know. If you guys have any tips for, getting a bigger word count without adding fluff, I would be more than happy to hear it. The way I plan as far as if I'm a pantser or not, the way I plan my stories is that I definitely don't plan it down to the minute detail, and I have to go from start to finish. I can't start at random parts or whatever, or start at the end. But I go, I write chapter outlines, so I do a brief, before I start the story, I'll write a very brief paragraph about what I want each chapter to be, and then I'll use that as a guide, and it always changes as I go. That I'll always end up adding more or taking out or just completely changing. But having that kind of frame is very important for my writing. I can't do it without it. But at the same time, it can't be down to the detail. Otherwise, just, I don't know, it doesn't feel as organic. Cam, do you think there is any room in today's fantasy for longer, more self-involved prose like Gormenghast? We were just talking about that before. I haven't read Gormenghast, but on Steve's direction, I will add it to my TBR. Self-involved prose. I think this is going to sound like a bit of a cop-out of an answer to that, so bear with me, but I think fantasy nowadays needs a really good shake-up, so whether that's something entirely new or whether it's going back to formulas in fantasy that aren't used as much anymore, I anticipate that's what's going to happen going forward, because it's just so much of fantasy now is just the same thing. It really is, and that's why I was excited for Black Leopard Red Wolf, because it was promised as being a very fresh perspective on the fantasy genre, but I didn't get that from that, unless a lot of, unnecessary kitty touching is what they were referring to. I just don't see that it was that inventive. Right, so that's what the story's about. that's where I'm at with it. Now, as for when it's finished, is a bit more of an interesting topic. I am definitely not opposed to self-publishing whatsoever. Not at all. I'm also in I'm also in a much better position to be traditionally published. Not saying I'm good enough to be traditionally published. I'm just saying, like I mentioned before, I have a platform now that a lot of people could use to get some leverage to, get an agent or get some kind of deal, which I'm not opposed to. I think that's fine when it comes to such a competitive industry like publishing. You really should be using everything at your disposal. But I still don't know or think that's the direction I want to go. And even with that said, pretty much like the entirety of the point of my horror books deserve more credit video, like my second most recent video I think it was, traditional publishers aren't really doing horror anymore, aside from like already prolific authors or authors that have been bumped up by already prolific authors. Like I say in the very start of that video I made, how many horror books can you name in the last year that weren't done by Stephen King? It's just, I honestly don't know if traditional publishing is even an option for a lot of people nowadays, unless you have a really big platform. That's what I think anyway. But with that said, there are a few smaller publishers. I think I made a folder. There are a few smaller publishers that are still boosting up horror books, and some of them are credible and decent. So maybe I'll query them. But the thing is, and there's no real way of me saying this without sounding a little bit douchey, so it is what it is, but do I need a small publisher? Like, is there any benefit in that for me? I know publishers don't just promote your book. They do a lot of other stuff as well. Like, they usually handle the cover and the copy editing and all that kind of stuff. But I can kind of do that on my own, and I feel like I have a big enough platform that I couldn't really get much more benefit out of being traditionally published. But the only thing actually that would make me want to go that route is just because of how skeptical people still are about self-published books. And I get that. I get that when you have a format like self-publishing where anyone can do it, there's usually going to be more bad than good. I get that. But the problem is with Authortube or even like Booktube in general, or just books, people don't take you seriously. They still don't when you're self-published. Most people, I should say, or especially people that aren't familiar with how publishing works, that kind of stuff. There is still that kind of, that hesitation after they ask you. Basically, it goes like this, right? You'll say, I just published a book. They'll say, who published it? You'll say, it's self-published. There's always a little pause there. There is always a little pause after you say that, and it is entirely them judging. And that's not me saying they're a judgy person. It's just not everyone, but how do I word this? People that aren't familiar so much with the book world have this stigma ingrained in them, so it's not even their fault. But when they hear someone say self-published, the instant thought is, oh, they tried to be traditionally published and it wasn't good enough, so they're self-published. There's not as much of an understanding that self-published now, especially for people who already have a platform, is a much more profitable way to go, and almost hosts no cons from not going with a traditional publisher. Pretty much any of the issues you'll have with self-publishing, as long as you do it correctly, like I didn't with my last self-published books, as long as you do it correctly, you're not going to run into any issues that you would have with or wouldn't have with traditional publishing, is what I'm saying. And if you're wondering what I meant by it's much more beneficial as far as profit goes, I'll say it like this. Obviously, I haven't been traditionally published, and I'm only going off what traditionally published people have told me. Obviously, it's different, depends on the contract, depends how good your literary agent is, etc., etc. But in most cases, a traditionally published author will only get somewhere from like around 5% to the highest I think I've ever heard of was like 30% royalties from each book sale. With self-publishing, you can get up to 70%. So say you've got a $10 book and it gets sold with traditional publishing, you can maybe get between 50 cents to like $3 for each book sale, but with self-publishing you can get $7. And like I said, I keep saying like I said, but if you have the platform, I think you can sell just as many books as if you'd gone with a traditional or small press publisher. So you'd stand to make a lot more money. The only negative is just that stigma. It's just people assume that you are self-published because you failed. When in reality, it's probably just better off for you. You're gonna get taxed like a motherfucker, but... Okay, let's check in on the chat. An hour and 15 already on the stream, jeez. I hope I haven't bored you guys. Let's see what Steve said, because Steve, I feel, would have a lot more insight on publishing than almost anyone I know on Booktube. You certainly don't need a small publisher. I think there is a market for every genre. The trick is finding an agent you enjoy working with. That's another thing I'll get to in a moment, is agents. You can do it yourself much more efficiently and with much more freedom. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Another thing is another con with going with a traditional publisher over self-publishing is you're giving up a lot of creative freedom. Depending on the publisher, they might be really kind and let you have a lot of creative freedom, but some publishers won't. They won't even let you have a say in the book cover, the worst ones. So again, it's just another strike in the cons column. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you ask me today if I would go self-publishing or traditional publishing or even small press publishing, I would definitely go self-publishing. I think I'm confident enough that I can do it myself, is what I'm saying, and I'm obviously going to do it correctly this time. I'm obviously going to get the book professionally edited from the get-go rather than waiting until the book's been out for a year. Lost my train of thought now. That's my publishing plan, or lack thereof, so far with that psychological horror. But I have a bunch of other story ideas, and I don't want to just be known as a horror author, but the next one after this book that I'll be working on is an anthology of horror short stories, because I have some really great ideas, and I've actually already written a couple of them that I'm really proud of. I really think you guys will like them if you're a horror fan. I think you'll really enjoy them. I think they're hella creepy. The great thing with short stories, I love short stories, especially when it comes to horror, is because you can kind of just fucking bugs, god damn it, is you can kind of go crazy. You can write some weird shit when it comes to short stories because people don't have to invest a lot of time or commit a lot of time to them. It can be super weird because it's going to be over in one sitting. God damn, I had something else I wanted to mention on this self-pub. Agents. That's right. I don't see myself getting a literary agent, obviously, if I don't go with traditional publishing, by the way. And even if I went with traditional publishing, I don't know if... I mean, you should get an agent, shouldn't you? But I don't know. yeah, I don't know. I haven't given the whole agent perspective part of that that much thought, to be honest. But like I said, I don't think that's a road I'll even end up going down, to be honest. But yeah, the short story anthology, it kind of started as being like the theme. I like when anthologies have a theme. So the theme originally was my own personal phobias, like for example claustrophobia, the whatever you call it when you're scared of like the deepest parts of the ocean. That terrifies me. So that was the theme. Basically what my idea was, that I would take the theme and just write a story around that. So it wouldn't necessarily be a story about claustrophobia, but claustrophobia would be a large part of the story, or it would be the theme of the story. You know what I mean? But that one's like, you know, down the road a ways. Probably be about 10 short stories in that. Why don't you hit the competitions hard, especially if you have a folder full of shorts? It's not a bad idea, Mad Garlic. I mean, yeah, I've got a couple of short stories ready to go, so I suppose I could look into some short story competitions. If it just depends. If it depends on how the exclusivity rights work with that. I've seen a couple of competitions where once you've submitted it, the expectation is that it... Sorry, I live by a main road. The expectation is that it wouldn't be published later on, so obviously that's something I would want to avoid. But yeah, that's basically all I got as far as my writing progress. It's been going well. I imagine I'll probably be doing some more writing later today, actually. But nearly there, nearly at the end of the stream. The last two things I wanted to do was I have a bit of an announcement for the end of the video, end of the stream, which it's not a huge announcement, so if that's why you're sticking around, you might be a little disappointed. But I think it's interesting, and it is a bit of a change. But before that, I want to take a quick look at the suggestions again for ideas people had for me to talk about in the stream. I feel like I've addressed most of them already, but let's have a look. I've got a tweet up and I've got a community post up. I'm just going to go ahead and expand that a little bit. Right, so... the importance of the process. Idea to published can feel daunting, but breaking it down can make it feel less so. I feel like I kind of went through that. I'll make it very simple. And again, I'm not an expert, so there are much better people to talk you through the steps of finishing a book. But if I was to outline it in any way, I would say first draft. Go back through it, edit as much as you... Not edit, but you know, correct things. Just read it, go with the flow, see what feels like it needs to be changed and what doesn't. So that would be the second draft, and then after that I would probably give it to some beta readers to get some feedback on. Once it comes back again, I would take a look at their feedback, implement any of it that I think I should, and then after that, well, I suppose after that you would have a finished manuscript, wouldn't you? Or what would hopefully be the end result. And then you would send it to a professional editor who would hopefully do all of the proofreading, editing, maybe copy editing if that's what you're after. And then once you get it back from there, obviously that's when you'll start looking into formatting it so you know how many pages are going to be in it. Specifically, you need to know the exact number, and once you've got that, then you'll get the cover done, and then after that it's all finished. So you would just need to upload it so it's ready to go at a future date. I would probably recommend giving it a couple of months so you can build some hype for it, and then you work on marketing. That's it. That's the steps, very simply, but obviously, like I said, there are full videos that go in depth on that kind of stuff. Right. Talk about your work in progress. Well, we've done that. What is the preparation for planning a video? Also done that. Also, when the stream's over, by the way, guys, I'm gonna go back and add time cards for, like, I don't know, if you've jumped in the stream late and you want to see the earlier stuff, come back to the video after the stream ends, at least maybe an hour or two later, and there should be time cards. You good? Have you been to any book events outside Australia? There's a good one in July called Edgelit. I did not know that. There's not many book events in Australia, to be honest. We've got the like Lifeline Book Fest where they sell like millions of books at a really cheap cost, but that's not like a book event because it's just like a market. You just go there. And Comic-Con kind of lumps in authors, but it's very few and far between, and it's not. We don't really have a book event, to my knowledge, is what I'm saying. We don't have like a big book con. How realistic do you think it is to grow a channel with both Authortube and Booktube content? I talked about that for perhaps too long. Okay, here. Trends in Authortube or Booktube in 2020. I am not particularly aware of any trends. That's the interesting thing about Authortube, isn't it? And I think that's why I struggle with Authortube a lot, is because it pretty much comes down to doing videos about writing tips or videos about what you're working on is the two. That's the bread and butter of Authortube, and that can get really boring for people to see talking about those same two things over and over and again. When it comes to writing tips, there's a lot of debate about what makes you qualified to give certain advice. I'm not against people giving writing advice on Authortube, obviously. I've done it in the past. I know a lot of people are, but I think as long as you're well researched, and as long as people get value out of your writing tips, and as long as you're not giving them just blatantly wrong advice, that's fine. But those are the main things you'll see on Authortube. I'm not aware of much else you can make videos on. I mean, you can make videos, like I said, kind of like the video essays I've done, where I talk about the intricacies of a trope or a genre or something like that. That's pretty interesting. But I don't think that's a trend because, again, not saying I'm the first to do it by a long shot, but it's not something I see a lot. Do you ever have issues with niche crossover when making videos? Yeah, I talked about that one again for too long. An average day in my life, no, you don't want to hear about that, trust me. It's really boring. Talked about how long my process takes. Wattpad, again, I'll be doing a video on the good of Wattpad, so don't worry about that. Have you ever used copywork as a method? I have not. People whose content you love. We can do a shout out. Let's do a shout out. A little shout out section, yeah. Off the top of my head, God, put me on the spot. I can't think of any off the top of my head. How about this? How about I just type in Authortube and I'll point out any that I know. Oh, hey, look, it's me. Alexa Dawn is, I don't think I've ever spoken about Alexa Dawn on here before. She's, by the way, this is in an incognito tab, so even if you see that I'm not subscribed to someone, chances are I probably am. But Alexa Dawn's a big name on Authortube, and I know a ton of people get a lot of value out of her videos. She's been traditionally published, so from what I've seen a lot of her videos, making it sound like I haven't, but from what I understand, she has some very valuable insight, so I'd recommend checking her out, but chances are you're aware already. By the Brook, fantastic channel as well. If it sounds like I hesitated there, it's just because I had something in my throat, but By the Brook's great. She's been around for a very long time. I think she's been around since the start of Authortube as well. Jenna Streety, I'm not too familiar with Natalia Lee. Jenna Streety is again, not hesitating, sorry. Jenna Streety's great. Again, been around for a long time. iRidley, I believe, used to be an editor, so has a lot of insight on literary agents and editors, if that's a direction you're wanting to go. This has been a super lazy shout-out video. I'm not shouting out toxicity, but Ben Sanders is actually one of my really good friends on Authortube. I've known him since, Jesus Christ, a very, very long time, and he's on a bit of a YouTube break right now, but I'll definitely recommend subscribing to Ben because he's great, really has. I've known him for freaking years, like 3 or 4 years now. It's been a really long time. I'm going to check the chat, see what the chat's doing. Oh, by the way, hang on, I know who I want to shout out. Just 1 second. Bear with me, bear with me. She's on a live stream right now. What the heck? Trying to leech my live stream audience. Aphrodite's really great. She's been going through quite a bit lately. I'm obviously not going to tell you or talk about her personal stuff going on, but she's a friend of mine, and I know she's having a rough go of it at the moment. Again, I am subscribed. It's just an incognito tab. But yeah, Aphrodite's really great. She's one of the people in the community that everyone knows from the comments, because she's one of those people that are always in the comments of videos, just giving love to people, and I think it's just fantastic, and you should definitely support her, Aphrodite Lee. But yeah, there we go. NaNoWriMo, I'm not even going to comment on NaNoWriMo, sorry, because I've been such an utter failure the last few years at NaNoWriMo, so I don't want to embarrass myself any further. Hey Yasmin the Reader, if you want a Booktube channel, check her out because she's great. Although I doubt she even needs a shout out. She's doing pretty damn well on her own. If you guys have any YouTube channels, I mean, if you want to self-promote, whatever, but preferably if you have any YouTube channels you like from Authortube or Booktube, feel free to drop them in the chat and people can check them out. And we will move on. Move on to the end of the stream. I think it's been an hour and a half, which seems like the sweet spot for live streams nowadays. So the very last thing I want to talk about, and while I talk about this, if you have any Q&As you want me to discuss or anything like that, and any questions you want me to answer before I hop off today, leave them in the chat now, and I will just reading the chat. Put them in the chat now, and I'll answer them after I do this announcement, I guess. Yeah, it's like, it's confusing me that it's dark in your room because it's not the nighttime. Do you know what? Fucking all this rain and heat has just made it humid and all the bugs are out. Oh look, I'll give you a little room tour. Ready? There's the keyboard that I can't play because I said I would learn how to play piano. I never did. But yeah, it's not nighttime, by the way. Curtains are just keeping the fucking sun at bay because it's insane. There's the dog, and there's the cat, and they freaking hate each other. That is Farah, Pharah, really friendly dog, but the problem is she is very rough with a terrible guard dog, by the way, because she just plays with everyone, but she plays really rough. And she tries to play with the cat. She really wants to be friends with Bonnie, the cat. But to Bonnie, who is a tiny little cat, she was the runt of her litter, and she's still pretty small. But to Bonnie, all she sees is this massive German Shepherd sprinting at her with its mouth open. So obviously, she freaks out, and they have a very tumultuous relationship. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, guys. It's very dramatic. I assure you, it's very dramatic. Kate Kavanaugh is a great channel. I have a little bit of a bitter spot there. Not that she's done anything wrong, but I had this like idea ages ago. I was like, oh, I have the great idea. It's going to be a great video. I am going to spend a week doing famous authors' writing routines, and then I was like, I do the same thing I usually do, which is I check online if it's been done because I don't want to rip people off. And that was like her most popular thing. And I was like, damn, that was such a fucking good idea. I hate that someone's already done that. And hers was super popular too, like huge. So I was just very salty, but good on her. She's very funny. Right, so the announcement. Sorry for beating around the bush. So, something I've wanted to do for a very long time. You'll notice when I switched to video essays, I said that was something I wanted to do for a long time as well. Recently, I've just decided I've wanted to start doing things I want to do when it comes to YouTube and stop worrying about how it's going to affect subscribers or view counts and that kind of stuff. I just don't care anymore, man. I just don't. I just don't. But that's why I switched to video essays, because I was like, I don't think it's going to perform as well, but fuck it. Turns out it's doing really well, it's just incredibly hard to make, so I can't make 2 or 3 videos a week anymore, I can only make 1. But the next thing I want to do, the next step in that plan of doing what I want on the channel, is something I've wanted to do for a really long time, and that is changing my channel name. Hey Livy. Good to see ya. Farah, like Overwatch. I'm aware that there is a Farah in Overwatch. By the way, she's not my dog. She's my housemate's dog, although I'm slowly buying her loyalty, so that when I overthrow my housemate, she'll be behind me. But, no, not like Overwatch. I hope not. Maybe my housemate did name her after Overwatch. That would change everything. But yes, I will be changing my channel name. Maybe I'll do it today. I might do it today. But the problem is with having the name Wolfshot Publishing. When I first started my YouTube channel, I've said this before, it's not a secret. A lot of people think... I've got a fair few comments think they're exposing me for this, but I've been very open about it. I started YouTube initially to promote myself and sell my book that I had out at the time. That was it. I didn't have any interest in being a booktuber. That just happened to change over time. I realized it was a great hobby. I realized it was actually a lot of fun to do, so I phased out me promoting myself entirely up to now. But initially it was to promote myself, and initially a lot of self-published authors do this. They have like a kind of small press name for themselves, to use for themselves, to be taken more seriously. And I'll probably still do that. If I self-publish, I'll probably still publish my books under the name Wolfshot Publishing, or under my pen name, but under the publisher name Wolfshot Publishing. Sorry again if I'm rambling, but yeah, but the problem is with having my channel name as Wolfshot Publishing is that a lot of people have assumed that I intend to be a publishing company, or it kind of takes a lot of the personal feel out of it. Like, it makes it feel like this channel is a team of people when it's not, or it makes it feel like this channel is a company or something like that, and it's not, just because it has the word publishing in there. And especially when I'm contacted or contacting or when businesses are contacting me for a sponsorship, which so far I haven't done, not because I feel I'm really noble, just because the stuff they want me to like do as sponsorships has nothing to do with reading or writing most of the time, or it's just not very good. But when it comes to me dealing with other companies and other businesses, when they talk about my YouTube channel Wolfshot Publishing, there's always this confusion around whether I'm actually a publisher or not, and it's just a fuck around, you know what I mean? A frick around, sorry. But yes, I should probably stop teasing and just tell you what. So you'll remember recently, and I've taken it down now because it was just a failure, which is fine, but I had the like clothing brand. I wanted to. It wasn't merch for the channel. It was just I wanted to have clothing that was specifically for readers and writers that looked good. And it was called the shop was called Page Nomad, and I just think that's a really freaking cool name. And the irony of it was that it was a perfect name for a YouTube channel. But I didn't want to change my YouTube channel to Page Nomad because then the shop would be like merch, and I didn't want to sell merch, at least at this point in time. So yeah, now that the shop's no longer an issue, I'm going to change my name from Wolfshop Publishing to Page Nomad. I just feel it's a lot more like Page Nomad sounds a lot more like one person. It sounds a lot more personal. It sounds a lot more like a YouTuber rather than a company. You know what I mean? Wolfshop Publishing, while I'll still use it for my self-published books, it's like a business name. And I guess if I use it for my self-published books, it will be a business name. So I don't want that to be my YouTube channel name, you know? It's almost 4 a.m. over here in Germany, but I wanted to check in for at least a few minutes. Cam, your essays rock. How are the copyright claims? How are the copyright claims going? Pretty good now, actually, although I haven't uploaded in a week or two. I'll get to that in a sec, actually, when I wrap up the stream, but I just want to finish up on the Page Nomad thing. Probably today, I'll be changing my YouTube channel to Page Nomad, and I got a lot of good advice from people on Twitter, I think including Cloud Kitten Chronicles, because my main concern was, at the time anyway, was that if I change my name, people that find me from external sources won't be able to find me anymore. And the advice I was given, which is really freaking fantastic advice, is to add the tag Wolfshop Publishing to all of my videos and my channel, because you can add tags to your channel and your videos so that when someone searches something, that video and channel will come up. And apparently YouTube has a bit of a algorithm anyway where if you change your channel name, you'll still come up at least for quite a while when people search your old channel name. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be an issue, is all I'm saying. Nothing is going to change with the channel itself. It's just the name. I feel like it's the good move. Copyright claims, yes. Gee. I could cry. They're all good now, thank God, but every video I upload now gets like copyright claimed, or it gets the yellow mark for being not family friendly because I say boobs or something like that. It's really rough, man. Like I don't care about the money. I don't make enough off of YouTube to be concerned about the money anyway. Honestly, the money probably gets filtered out tax time anyway, so who cares? But what I care about is being recommended, and what I've noticed is a lot of my videos aren't recommended under the age gate, so there is a way to check that. If you have a YouTube channel, you might want to do this yourself, actually. I think if you go to an incognito, maybe you don't need to go to an incognito tab, but if you sign out of your YouTube account and you search a channel with the age filter on, like to filter out unsafe content or whatever, it'll get rid of a lot of the videos that have swearing and stuff in it, and that's how you can see how many of your videos are being recommended to a lot of people that don't have YouTube accounts, because that's the thing. A lot of YouTubers will notice that a lot of the people watching their videos aren't subscribed. Most of that is because it's people who don't have accounts. There's a lot of people on YouTube who just don't want to have a YouTube account, and they just tune in and search up the person they want to watch every week. Oh, by the way, Page Nomad, I feel like it's one of those things that if I explain it, it's going to sound lame, but basically Page Nomad is, think about it, a nomad is someone who, the literal definition I'm pretty sure is someone who travels from place to place, a wanderer, and Page Nomad is someone who wanders from page to page, or travels from book to book. It's quite literally what it would be defined as. I just thought it was very cool. I'm very lucky no one's already taken that name. Unless someone does it before I manage to do it now, in which case, fuck you, I'm still doing it. No, the copyright claims aren't from the person I recently had issues with. They come directly from the people who own the content in the videos. For example, recently I did the video on villain redemptions, and Fox claimed my video for... I used quite a few X-Men clips in that video, but they claimed the video for 1 5-second clip in there, and it was looking like I was actually going to end up getting a copyright strike, which ironically would mean I wouldn't be able to live stream. But luckily, in the end, it got thrown out on the basis of me saying that it was transformative, obviously, and somewhat educational, just because it was me talking about... It was basically a review, really. I was saying how the source material, which in this case was the X-Men clip, was directly related to the topic I was discussing, which was villain redemptions, when I was talking about Magneto. But yeah, I feel like that's all the topics I had. Let's do a quick wrap up, yeah? So the new video style I just talked about, the topics I talked about today were the new video style. I talked about how long it takes me to do it, and the troubles I've been having with it, with copyright, etc. I talked about the issues with having a channel that is both Booktube and Authortube. I told you about which books that I'm currently reading. I told you about the book I'm currently writing and what I plan to do with it once it's finished, and the fact that it's so damn close to finishing the first draft. And I really don't want to toot my own horn, but I really do think it's good. I really do think it's good. And then I answered some general Q&A. And then obviously me changing my name to Page Nomad. If you guys have any questions you want me to answer before I finish up the stream, let me know, and I'll answer them, and then we'll wrap it up, because it's been an hour and 40 minutes. If any of you guys have been here the whole time, freaking hell, you're amazing. Truly. I can't imagine sitting there and watching me for nearly 2 hours. I really don't. That's not just self-deprecation. That's just... Oh, and also at the start of the video, you might want to pop back in later to watch the start of the video, because I read out some of the beautiful work from Bobs and Virgin. The recently controversial Bobs and Virgin. Perfect body with wonderful butty. This is great. I will be putting this back up again at some point under the comedy name Will Face Stiffly. But yeah, leave me some questions. I will answer them. I'm gonna pat the dog really quick, okay? While you do that, you can watch this ass. Look at this cat. It's also really freaking hot in here, man. Have you guys ever seen these pancakes and maple syrup jelly bellies? I know it's like, well, duh, they're meant to taste like pancakes and maple syrup, but it is honestly insane how accurate it is. Okay, I'll answer some questions, and then we'll wrap this up. You should title the video "The End of Wolfshop Publishing" just for the clickbait. Not gonna lie, that's a good idea. That would get hella clicks. It would also piss off a lot of people. I would be pretty annoyed if I clicked on a video thinking it was them ending their channel and it was just them changing their name. I can't do that. That's great. That's a great idea. it's like I care about the numbers, but then I don't. I try to have fun with my channel. I like the community aspect of YouTube and having my small audience to talk to while streaming. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you, me saying like, oh, you shouldn't care about numbers, that kind of stuff. While it's true, it is definitely not easy. I still have times where I'm like, you know, why is this person getting more subscribers than me? And like, I know they make good content. For the most part, it's just like me thinking, oh, I've been here for so long, why is this person who has been here for such a short amount of time like exploding and I'm not, that kind of stuff. I have moments like that, so it's not easy to not care about subscribers and views, but it gets a lot easier with time. It really does. Eventually you just stop caring as much, and I really don't, and I know it's just petty stuff that will pass. It's really not a big deal. Like I said, no one's going to be buying a freaking Lamborghini with Booktube money, so who cares? Thanks for the kind words about the name change, by the way, guys. That's really nice. Hungry? Yeah, she's hungry. My current trick is I never have a clip longer than 15 seconds without seconds clipped out here and there. So far it's worked. You know, with me putting other people's footage in my videos, what I've done what I've done that I thought was working well was I would have the video smaller with a moving colorful background behind it, and then I would also put like a static VCR effect over the top of it. That worked for a bit, and then I don't know what happened, but it started not working as much anymore. But I think if I flip it as well, maybe that'll do it. I just have to keep experimenting, I guess. I'm pretty new to the video essay thing, but I haven't gotten copyright struck yet. I haven't gotten any strikes, and they tend to let up eventually. But the problem is when you have to dispute every damn video, and they have up to like a month to let it go. So it's just such a hassle, man. And they can catch your video off like 3 seconds. I shit you not, it's happened to me. So just keep that in mind. How do you profile your characters to get to know them and flesh them out? I don't really do character profiles like in my outline. I guess I do just so I don't forget specifics about how they look. For example, eye color, that kind of thing. I'll note all that down. But as for the character, I have to discover that while I'm writing. Sounds very pretentious, but it's true. As far as their personality goes, I have an idea of how I want them to act, and then as I'm writing, it'll just flows out, you know? Favorite format of book to read? Short stories, 100%, because my favorite or second favorite genre would be horror, and short stories is the best format for horror in my opinion, and also you can read them in one sitting, which is great for someone who doesn't like reading a ton like me. I love reading, just not, you know, I can't sit down for hours and do it, is what I'm saying. Goddamn itchy nose. My partner and I tend to binge your videos, so this 2 hours is nothing. I don't know how you do it, but I appreciate it. Any tips for visiting Australia from Canada? I think you should be right. I feel like we're reasonably similar countries from what I've seen, except pack some warm clothing just in case, but be very aware that the climate is very different all over Australia. So on the right side of Australia, right? Hang on, let me pull up a map. Let's get educational here. We're gonna answer something right now for people. Oh geez, okay. Right, so this is where I live. I live in Queensland. It is incredibly hot 99% of the time. It sucks. That's just how it is. And the same is going to go, to the best of my knowledge, for Northern Territory and Western Australia. Down here, closer to New South Wales, it gets a bit cooler, and then in Melbourne, etc., it's much colder. Every time I've gone to Melbourne, it has been absolutely freezing. For a Canadian, it's probably still going to feel like a day at the beach. But for someone who lives in like one of the hottest states, or the hottest state, I would be willing to say in Australia, going to Melbourne is just very rigid and kind of refreshing. And Tasmania, well, that's not really part of Australia. We don't talk about Tasmania. I'm just kidding. I hope no one from Tasmania is in the chat. Sorry. But yeah, furnace. A little bit of a freezer situation down here. So if you're coming from Canada, I think you'll be okay. Just be very aware that you are going to have a bit of a rough time with the weather to begin with. Just pack beach clothes is all I'm saying. Have video games besides Silent Hill been an inspiration for you? Absolutely. Actually, the next or second next video essay I do is going to be on a particular video game and how the storytelling has been so massively influential for me. It's a video game I've played and replayed like 10 times. Came out like 10 or more years ago, and it's just been... It's unreal. It's honestly fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But yes, video games are a huge inspiration, and that video essay I do is going to be a lot about that particular story, but also about how video games aren't taken very seriously when it comes to storytelling. Okay. Steve, should I try doing a live stream? This looks like so much fun. Is it complicated? I'm surprised you haven't done a live stream, Steve. I thought you would have done one. Yes, you should definitely do it. Yes, it is fun. Yes, it is a bit complicated. It depends how you do it, how you do the live stream, but you have a few options. The option I'm using is pretty damn complicated, but that's because I'm giving myself different I'm using a program that has a lot more flexibility, but there are very simple ways of doing it if you just want to live stream yourself and talk in the chat. But I feel like a YouTube tutorial should be enough to help you out there, Steve. You're a smart guy. You'll figure it out. Okay. I'm very surprised to hear that you went on the East Coast and it was cold in July. Yeah, that's still a little bit surprising. Must have been a really good week. You're lucky. Hey, Steven. Hey, Tash. Natasha. You said Canada and I appeared. You know, if you say Bigfoot's sexy hairy feet in the mirror 3 times, my rating as odd pops in. Tell you what, I feel like Booktube's going to be really damn quiet later this month. Watch there be like no uploads on Booktube later this month as soon as Animal Crossing comes out. I guarantee that's going to happen. or no, people will upload actually. People are going to upload. But they're gonna be like this the whole time. They're gonna be like, yeah. So, great book. Yeah, I really liked it. It was a good book. They're gonna be like that the whole time. You're gonna hear Animal Crossing dinging off in the background. That little Nook fella. However they sound. Final Fantasy X was amazing story-wise. It really was. StreamYard, yeah, that might be a good option for you, Steve. I've heard that StreamYard is a really easy way of doing it, especially if you want to stream with other people. But if you do stream with other people, just make sure you have a great upload speed. If you stream at all, actually, make sure you have a great upload speed. I'm currently using my mobile phone as a Wi-Fi source because my actual internet, because this is Australia, is garbage. So that's a lot of fun. Do you back up your stories in a flash drive or Google Drive? I do it on Dropbox. Probably not the best way to do it, but I've just been doing it for so long. That's why I won't switch from Microsoft Word. I paid for Scrivener and everything, but I can't change from Microsoft Word. It's just too comfortable for me. And same with Dropbox. That's what I use for backing up all of my writing. Back up your writing, guys, honestly. I know you think nothing's bad's gonna happen, but it fucking will. It happens. I guarantee in every writer's life, at least a few times, they're going to lose what they have if they haven't backed it up. I guarantee it. Anyway, I should wrap it up, guys. We're at the 2-hour mark, and I've done more than enough rambling. Like I said, I will go back. I'm not going to rewatch the whole stream. I can barely watch myself. But I will go back, flick through it, and leave time cards for everything I've discussed in the video. If you want to come back later, give it at least a couple of hours or an hour or two. And if you want to come back and see what I talked about before you join the live stream, there'll be time cards there for you. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I will do this again in the near future. Maybe I could make it like a monthly thing, just for me to check in and, I don't know, shoot the shit, really. And that's really all this is. There was no real plan here. If you see Page Nomad in your subscriber box, remember it's me. Don't unsubscribe or I will. If you unsubscribe to my channel, I will find you. I will find you. The dog will find you. Hey, guard dog. She ain't guarding shit right now. She's in a coma, basically. Jesus. You alive? Yeah, she's alright. Anyway, that's nice talking. I'm going to end it there. And now we do the whole awkward ending of the bye, guys.